Now let us discuss the construction of cubic shape functions for triangular element. As we have discussed in the earlier lecture that we have to follow the Pascal's triangle in order to get a complete set of polynomials, and from there we have seen that for cubic polynomial we need 10 terms. So first the constant part, then the linear part, this forms the quadratic part, and the last 4 terms are corresponds to the cubic row, alright, of the Pascal's triangle. So here we have 10 coefficients starting from A0 to A9. So in order to define these 10 coefficients, we have to define the value of the phi i's at 10 points in the element. So we have taken the master element, alright, and in addition to the vertices of the triangle, we have taken 2 nodes in the sides of the triangle, that makes 9 points. So last 10th point has been put at the center of the element, alright. So if you see the coordinate of node 10 is 1 by 3, 1 by 3, alright. So if I put the coordinates here, this is 0 0, node 2 this is 1 0, this is 0 comma 1, and for 10 it is 1 by 3, 1 by 3, alright. So first time we see that there is a node which is inside the element, okay, not even in the boundaries. Now how can we construct the shape functions now? We can define the phi i's as usual. We can say that, say, phi 1 is 1 at node 1 and it is 0 at all other nodes. So if I follow xi direction, it looks like this, and the eta direction it may look like this, alright. So that is how we need to construct the shape functions. So we can either solve, we can either put the constraints in the 10 equations and then solve for these 10 unknowns, or we can construct directly by looking at the definition geometrically. We can say that phi 1 is 1 at node 1 and is 0 along this side containing node 3, 7, 6 and 2, and it is also 0 along the straight line joining 3, 10 and 5. Similarly also 0 along a straight line joining 4 and 9, right. So the definition of the first one is xi plus eta minus 1 equal to 0. This straight line, the definition will be xi plus eta minus 2 by 3 is equal to 0, as the coordinate of 5 is 2 by 3 comma 0. Similarly this definition, xi plus eta minus 1 by 3 is equal to 0. So if we remember what we did earlier, we can say phi 1 comprises of xi plus eta minus 1, xi plus eta minus 2 by 3, xi plus eta minus 1 by 3, right. And in order to ensure that the value of phi 1 is 1 at node 1, we put a coefficient C1, alright. Now how do we calculate the coefficient C1? We said that at node 1, that is at xi equal to 0, eta equal to 0, C1 times minus 1 minus 2 by 3 minus 1 by 3, the value should be equal to 1. So that renders C1 as minus 9 by 2, alright. So that is how I can define the shape function phi 1. Similarly, to construct the shape function, suppose let us construct the shape function phi 6. How do we define the shape function phi 6? Phi 6 should be 1 at node 6, alright, and it should be 0 everywhere else. So, we say that phi 6 is 0 along this side, alright, and this side of the triangle, and in addition it should also be 0 along the straight line containing the node 4, 7 and 10, alright. So, then it will be 0 at all other nodes. So, then the definition becomes this is the first straight line is eta equal to 0. So, eta minus 0, the second straight line is xi equal to 0, and the third straight line is xi minus 1 by 3 equal to 0. So, that defines phi 6, but it has to be 1. So, I will put C6 as the coefficient, alright. Now, what is the coordinate of 6? The coordinate of 6 is 2 by 3 comma 1 by 3. So, if we put xi equal to 2 by 3, eta equal to 1 by 3, and we will make it to 1 to calculate the coefficient C6, alright. Let us do one more, say phi 8. Phi 8, as we see, has to be 0 along the straight line xi plus eta minus 1 equal to 0, and it has to be equal to 0 along the straight line eta equal to 0, alright, and it has to be 0 along eta minus 1 by 3 equal to 0, alright. So, that means that it has to be 0 in this along this straight line. It's fine, and we will assign some coefficients to ensure the value of phi 8 at node 8 as 1 by putting the value of xi equal to 0 and eta equal to 2 by 3. Finally, say what about phi 10? Phi 10 has to be 0 in all the sides of the triangle and has to be 1 at node 10. So, that makes it C10 into xi minus 0 or xi equal to 0, eta equal to 0 and xi plus eta minus 1 equal to 0. So, along these 3 straight lines it has to be 0. So, their product times C10 gives us phi 10. To calculate phi 10, we will put xi equal to, so we will put xi equal to 1 by 3, eta equal to 1 by 3. So, that makes this is 2 by 3 minus 1. So, that is minus 1 by 3, and then we will make it to 1 to calculate C10. So, that is how we can calculate all these 10 say functions that are non-zero in this element. Once we come up with the definitions of i's, or I should say ni's, then we can take their derivatives, okay, which are required to evaluate the element stiffness matrix. Now, in this case, since there are 10 nodes, okay, and in each node one phi I is non-zero, so it means there are total 10 phi i's or ni's that are non-zero, and in that case in the element, if you look at the definition of Kij, I goes from 1 to 10, j goes from 1 to 10. So, the element stiffness matrix becomes 10 by 10 and the force vector becomes 10 by 1. So, it implies that as we go for higher degree polynomials, our matrix size, even the element stiffness matrix and the element force vector, that size becomes larger. So, we need more and more resources to store those matrices and operate with those matrices. So, following this strategy, we can define all other shape functions for p equal to 4 and higher order. Now, let us consider another type of element that we frequently use in case of solving problems in 2 dimension, that is called quadrilateral element. So, here I have shown a rectangular domain that is defined by 1, 2, 3 and 4. This domain has been discretized using 5 quadrilateral elements, element 1, element 2, 3, 4 and 5. So these blue boundaries are correspond to the elements. So these are internal boundaries. Now in this case, how do we represent the unknown, that is u? In this case we have how many nodes? We have total 8 nodes. So each of the vertices we have a node. So we have numbered them as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So we have 8 nodes, and in each node if we have one unknown, alright. So in this case the problem we are solving, we have one unknown in each node. So in that case we have total 8 unknowns. In other way, corresponding to each node we have one phi I, that is non-zero. So we have total 8 phi i's. So to describe the unknown u, we will use now alpha I phi I goes from 1 to 8, right. Whereas in each element there are only 4 phi i's that are non-zero, whereas in case of triangular elements we have seen there are 3 phi i's that are non-zero. In this case we have 4 phi i's in each element which are non-zero. So if we substitute this u and take w as one of the phi i's, alright, say phi j, then we get the jth discrete or algebraic equation, alright. And following that process, what will be the size of the global stiffness matrix? Since we have 8 unknowns, so the global stiffness matrix will be of size 8 by 8, because I and j varies from 1 to 8, and similarly the global force vector will be of size 8 by 1, because here j varies from 1 to 8. Now since in each element there are 4 phi i's that are non-zero, what is the size of the element stiffness matrix? The element stiffness matrix now is of size 4 by 4, because in each element ni and nj's are varying from n1 to n4, alright. Similarly the force vector in each of the elements will vary, will be having size 4 by 1. Now in order to calculate these kij's, what we need to do? We need to map each of the elements, okay, to a master element. This is just to calculate these entries numerically, alright, as we have already done for triangular elements. So similarly for quadrilateral elements also we have a master element which is basically a square of side 2, alright. The coordinates are given for this quadrilateral element, okay. So this is the master element for the quadrilateral elements, where we calculate the derivatives of the ni's and nj's and find out the kij for each of the elements numerically. So this process of mapping and calculating the kij's will be described later through an example. Let us first define these shape functions in this master element for p equal to 1. So here I have taken this master element having which is a square of side 2, and we are defining the shape functions for p equal to 1. Why we are defining it in master element? Because we have seen in the past that in order to calculate the kij's or fi's, we need the derivatives and the values of the shape functions in the master element. So the definition of these in the master element will suffice. So let us construct the shape function for p equal to 1 in this master element. Now in case of triangular element, we took only these 3 monomials 1, xi and eta. So earlier our ni looks like a0 plus a1 xi plus a to eta, alright, in case of triangular element. And we defined the values of ni's in the 3 vertices, okay, and we calculated the coefficients uniquely. But in this case we have 4 corners points. So to make the unknowns equal to the number of constants, in addition to this we will add xi eta term. So what it says that in addition to this we are taking the term xi eta, alright. Now if I say linear, then up to this it is complete, but when we are adding this, then this will become bilinear, because when xi is constant, ni is linear in eta, and similarly when eta is constant, it will be linear in xi. So this is called a bilinear, alright. So now how can we calculate these 4 coefficients? The same way we will say that n1 is 1 at node 1 and it is 0 at all other nodes. So that will give us 4 equations, and solving which we will get the 4 unknowns a1 starting from a0 to a3. Now instead of doing that, we can follow the strategy that we are doing for triangular elements. We can say that n1 is 1 at node 1 varying linearly with xi and eta, alright, and is 0 along these 2 edges, alright. And what is the equation of these 2 sides? This side the equation is xi minus 1 equal to 0, this side is eta minus 1 is equal to 0, alright. So n1 I can define as C1 into xi minus 1 into eta minus 1, alright. Now in order to ensure the value of n1 is 1 at node 1, we will put C1 xi as minus 1, so that makes minus 2, eta as minus 1, that makes it minus 2 is equal to 1. So at xi equal to minus 1, eta equal to minus 1 at node 1, the value of n1 has to be 1. So that yields C1 as 1 by 4. So that defines the shape function n1. Similarly, what about n2? n2 is 1 at node 1 and is 0 along these 2 boundaries, alright. So I will write C2 into eta minus 1, and the other boundary is xi minus minus 1, so xi plus 1 equal to 0, alright. So similarly, if we put the value of xi as 1 and eta as minus 1, we can get that C2 is equal to, so this will yield minus 2, this will yield 2, so that makes it minus 1 by 4, alright. So similarly we can construct the other 2 shape functions n3 and n4. So n3, if I look at, the coefficient will be same, and n3 has to vanish along eta equal to minus 1. So eta equal to minus 1 means eta plus 1 equal to 0, and xi equal to minus 1, so that is xi plus 1, alright. Similarly n4 will be 1 by 4, it has to be, n4 has to vanish along xi equal to 1, so that is 1 minus xi, and along this guy, so the equation is eta equal to minus 1, so that is 1 plus eta. Now in another way we can construct these shape functions. We can say that the linear shape functions in xi, we can write it as 1 minus xi by 2 and 1 plus xi by 2. So, these are the two shape functions that we have seen in the master element, varying xi varying from -1 to +1, alright. And if we construct the same linear shape functions in eta varying from -1 to +1, those two shape functions are also looks like this. So, what I have done basically, this is the 1D shape function in xi, these are the 1D shape functions in eta corresponding to p equal to 1. Then we will take the tensor product. So, I will say this column vector times the transpose of this column vector. So, that will give us the shape functions corresponding to p equal to 1 for this quadrilateral element. So, let us do it. So, first row will be this times this and this times this, alright. So, that makes it 1 by 4 1 minus xi times 1 minus eta. Similarly, the second one will be 1 by 4 1 minus xi times 1 plus eta, and this will be 1 by 4 into 1 minus, this will be plus 1 plus xi into 1 minus eta, this into this, alright, and the last one will be 1 plus xi into 1 plus eta, alright. So, now let us look at these 4 shape functions. So, this is basically n1, alright, in our view this is n1, this 1 plus xi into 1 minus eta. So, that is basically our n2, alright, this one. Similarly, this if we look at, this is our n3 and this one is n4, alright. So, since we can obtain these shape functions from the tensor product of the corresponding shape functions in 1D, these shape functions are called tensor product family of shape functions, alright. So, now we can take the derivatives and following the earlier steps we can calculate the stiffness entries and the force entries. So, now we have seen the derivation of the basis functions or shape functions for quadrilateral element for degree p equal to 1. We derive this as by taking the tensor product of the linear basis functions for one dimensional case. Now, we know in one dimensional case that if the shape function is of degree p, then in a given element p plus 1 number of shape functions are non-zero, and since we are taking the tensor product of the corresponding shape functions in the 1D case to obtain the shape functions for the quadrilateral element. So, here we will be having p plus 1 whole square number of basis functions in a given quadrilateral element. So, if we extend this for p equal to 2, then 2 plus 1 whole square equal to 9. So, there will be 9 basis functions for the quadrilateral element for p equal to 2. So, here I have shown this a quadrilateral element in isometric view, where the 9 nodes are shown with black circles. In addition to the vertices, we have used the mid side points as the nodes, and we have one new node at the middle of the element, that is node 9. So, here if we want to derive the shape functions for the quadrilateral element for degree p equal to 2, we have to go and construct the shape functions for the one dimensional case for p equal to 2. So, here I have shown a one dimensional element, okay, where the independent variable xi or eta is varying from minus 1 to 1. For p equal to 2, we have 3 basis functions in one dimensional case. So, that we are denoting as n1 bar, n2 bar and n3 bar. Now, how did we construct? If I just recapitulate a little bit, n1 is 1 at xi equal to minus 1 and is 0 at xi equal to 0 and xi equal to 1. So, we said that n1 bar, that is the shape function for p equal to 2 in one dimensional case, we wrote n1 xi is equal to, at xi equal to 0 it has to be 0. So, xi minus 0 into, at xi equal to 1 it has to be 0. So, into xi minus 1, and at xi equal to minus 1 it has to be 1. So, that renders minus half. Alright. So, following this, we can go and construct the shape functions n2. So, n2 bar xi has to vanish at xi equal to plus minus 1. So, that renders 1 minus xi square. Alright, it has vanishes at xi equal to plus minus 1 and at xi equal to 0. Similarly, for n3 bar function of xi, it has to vanish at xi equal to minus 1. So, is xi plus 1 into at xi equal to 0. So, at xi, and it has to be 1 at xi equal to 1. So, that renders half. Alright. So, here we have to have it as plus half. Alright. So, please make this correction. So, once we derive the shape functions in the one dimensional case corresponding to p equal to 2, we can take their product and obtain the shape functions for this quadrilateral element. So, let us see how n1 looks like in this quadrilateral element. So, n1 is 1 at node 1, is varies quadratically with xi, okay, which basically the corresponds to the first shape function n1 bar, and with eta it also varies quadratically like this, because it has to vanish in node 8 and node 4. Alright. Now, since n1 bar vanishes at xi equal to 0, so it vanishes in node 9 and node 7 as well. Similarly, since it vanishes at xi equal to 1, it vanishes in node 2, node 6 and node 3 also, if we extend this in the eta direction. Alright. So, if I write n1 hat, so in this case we are deriving it in the master element. So, n1 hat for the quadrilateral element we can write as a product of n1 bar xi into n1 bar eta, because this part as it varies in the eta direction, that is same as the first shape function for replacing xi as eta. Alright. So, it ensures that the value of this product is 1 at node 1 and is 0 at all other nodes. Alright. So, similarly, if we construct it for n2 hat, how it looks like? N2 hat is basically 1 at node 2, varies quadratically with xi, okay, which corresponds to basically n3 bar, right, and also quadratically varies like this with eta. Okay. So, but in this case the variation along eta follows whatever is done by n1. So, we can write n2 hat is equal to n3 bar in xi and n1 bar in eta. So, it is basically the first shape function in eta direction and this is the third shape function in the xi direction. Their product will define n2. Now what about N5? N5 is 1 here, alright. So along xi, this is same as basically the second shape function in xi, and in the eta direction it is same as the first shape function in the eta direction. So we write N5 hat is equal to N2 bar in xi direction and N1 bar in eta direction, right. So this way we can construct all the shape functions for p equal to 2. Now let us look at this. Here we have shown that N1 bar is basically N1 hat is a product of N1 bar in xi, N1 bar in eta. So this actually represents N1 bar in xi and this represents N1 bar in eta. So their product defines N1 hat. Now similarly, if I look at N5, N5 is if I look at N5, N2, so N2 is N3 in xi, alright. So N2 is N3 in xi and N1 bar in eta. So that is what we are showing it here, alright. Now if we look at this, alright, so if we look at N5, N5 is denoted by the blue one. So if you look at N5, N2 in xi into N1 in eta. So N2 in xi is 1 minus xi square as derived here, and N1 in eta is basically same as this one, alright. So likewise we can go and construct all the shape functions for the quadrilateral element with p equal to 2. Now finally, before leaving this, let us look at N9, how it looks like. N9 is 1 at the midpoint and it has to vanish in all the boundaries of this element, alright, in all the element. So now, so it varies quadratically like this in xi direction and quadratically like this in eta direction. Now since the boundaries are defined by xi equal to plus minus 1 and eta equal to plus minus 1, so N9 is 1 minus xi square into 1 minus eta square. So those are basically the N2 bar in xi and eta direction respectively, alright. So this way we can construct all the shape functions. Now if we derive all these shape functions, we will see linear combinations will have all the quadratic terms, alright. Along with that we will be having these 3 extra terms, okay. So apart from the completeness requirement, it will have 3 extra terms in these NIs, alright. Moreover, we have an additional internal node that is defined by node 9 and that is not contributing any inter element boundaries, alright. So we will see how we can avoid this internal node, alright, in the later discussion. Now let us go ahead and discuss about the derivation of the shape functions for the quadrilateral element with p equal to 3. So same way we will first derive the shape functions for the one dimensional case for p equal to 3. So in this case we can say that the shape function nk bar, alright, is equal to xi minus xi I divided by xi k minus xi I, product of all these terms, okay, I going from 1 to p plus 1. So in this case p equal to 3, so I goes from 1 to 4. but I cannot be equal to k. So, using this definition, this you have already seen in the one dimensional case. So, using this, these are Lagrangian basis function or shape functions. So, once we have derived all these ni's like n1 bar, n2 bar, n3 bar and n4 bar in xi direction, we will just substitute xi as eta and get the corresponding sub function for nk bar eta. Alright. So, now how to construct these shape functions for the quadrilateral element using these shape functions in one dimension. So, we will take the product of them. Alright. Let us try to look at it. So, n1 is 1 at node 1, it varies the degree p, alright, that is a cubic function, alright, along xi, and it is also varying like this in eta. So, if you look at this variation in xi and eta, this is basically n1 bar, okay, for p equal to 3, and this is also n1 bar in eta for p equal to 3. So, n1 hat I can obtain as n1 bar xi into n1 bar eta. Similarly, let us look at node 16, node 6. Let us look at node 6. At node 6, so phi 6 or n 6 has to be 1 and it should vary like this, alright, and in the eta direction it should vary the same way, alright. So, this is n 6. So, if I write now n 6, n 6 will be the product of, this is the third node in this one dimensional case, third node. So, this is n1, this is n2, n3 and n4. So, this is n3. So, we have to take n3 in xi into n1 in eta, alright. Now, once we have that, now let us take another example, say n8. How we can construct n8? n8 is 1 at this point, so varying like this. So, it is 0 here and 0 here, alright, but how it varies with xi? It varies like this in xi direction. So, as we can see, this is basically the last shape function in xi and the third shape function in eta direction. So, we can write n8 is basically the product of the last one. So, that is n4 in xi and n3 in eta. So, likewise we can take the product of these one dimensional shape functions for p equal to 3 and we can suitably construct all these phi i's or ni's. Now, if we take some intermediate nodes or internal nodes, let us construct say in phi 13 or n13. So, this is basically the second shape function in xi direction and similarly the second shape function in eta direction, alright. So, n13 will be the second shape function in xi direction and the second shape function in eta direction. So, these are basically same as if we construct it through tensor product, alright. So, now if we construct all the shape functions this way, we will see that in this case we have total 16 terms in the Ni. Okay. So, the linear term, constant term, linear term, and then we have the quadratic terms, cubic terms, and other higher order terms. Now, if we remember from the Pascal's triangle that in order to satisfy completeness, we should take up to, we should have up to this, all the terms up to the cubic row, alright. In addition to these 10 monomials, it will also have these additional 6 monomials, which are more than the completeness requirement, alright. And moreover, we have 4 internal nodes, okay, we have 4 internal nodes. Now, one thing we need to understand that first of all, the internal nodes corresponding to some alpha i's which are unknowns, and these alpha i's are not contributing to the inter element boundaries, because these phi i's are non-zero only in this element. So, these are not defined in any other element. Second thing is, in for p equal to 3 we have total 16 phi i's. So, we have 16 unknowns alpha i's, and so the element stiffness matrix will be of size 16 by 16, because I and j both goes from 1 to 16. Similarly, the element force vector will be of size 16 by 1. So, now as we increase p, the number of unknowns in each element will increase, and as a result globally when we will deal with some real life applications, there we will see that the number of unknown reaches tens of thousands or even millions. Now, if we somehow can ignore this or avoid these internal nodes, then we can reduce 1 or in case of p equal to 2 and 4 in case of p equal to 3 unknowns in each element. So, that may seem insignificant, but when we see the global stiffness matrix, there will be a drastic reduction in the size, alright, because the unknowns will reduce per element, there will be 4 unknowns less. So, there will be the stiffness matrix will be of size 12 by 12, element stiffness matrix will be of size 12 by 12 instead of 16 by 16. So, the requirement of the computational resource also will reduce. So, with this objective, let us construct the shape functions for the quadrilateral element, which will allow us to avoid the internal nodes and the corresponding phi i's. Now, for p equal to 2, we had 2 plus 1 whole square, that is 9 phi i's or n i's, and we had 9 nodes. So, let us go back and just have a look. So, p equal to 2 we had 9 nodes and corresponding we had 9 ni's or shape functions. Now, if we can ignore the middle node, that this node, alright. So, the other nodes will belong to only the sides of the quadrilateral. Now, in this case, how can we construct the shape functions? Originally, it was done through inspection, but later on some strategy has been fixed by the researchers, following which we can derive the shape functions. Now, remember that in this case we cannot take the tensor product of the shape functions corresponding to the one dimensional case to obtain the shape function for quadrilateral element, because in that case n1 had to be 0 at the midpoint of the element, but in this case since there is no node at the middle, it need not be 0 at the middle of the element. So, how can we construct these shape functions? First of all, we will construct the shape functions corresponding to the nodes which are on the sides of the element. So, like n5, n6, n7 and n8. So, n5 we will say that it varies quadratically with xi, alright, having a value 1 at node 1, right, and in eta direction it varies linearly, okay, to 0 in the boundary eta equal to 1. So, as you can see, since it varies linearly in the eta direction, this need not be 0 at the midpoint of the element. So, n5 we are constructing like the quadratic function in xi, that is half into 1 minus xi square, because it has to vanish at xi equal to plus minus 1, and it is varying linearly to 0 at xi equal to 1, right. So, that constitutes n5. Similarly, if I look at n8, this varies quadratically with eta, okay, becoming 0 to the sides eta equal to plus minus 1, okay, and linearly varying with xi, okay, to 0 in xi equal to 1, and it is having value of 1 at node 8, alright. So, since it is varying quadratically with eta, so we have half into 1 minus eta square, because it is 0 in eta equal to plus minus 1, and it is linearly varying with xi and becoming 0 at xi equal to 1. So, that that gives us n8, alright. So, this is n6. So, first element is basically the quadratic variation of n8 along eta direction, and this part shows the linear variation of n8 along xi direction. So, this way we can construct n6 and n7 as well. Now, once we finish constructing the shape functions corresponding to the mid nodes of the sides, now we will construct the shape function for the shape functions corresponding to the corner nodes. So, now let us construct this. So, first we will say that the bilinear shape function for this quadrilateral element look like this, alright, and we will term this as n1, we will term this as n1 linear, and we know that the definition of n1 linear was 1 minus xi into 1 minus eta, because it is varying in xi equal to 1 and eta equal to 1, and it is 1 at node 1. So, this is we are defining as n1 linear. Now, n1 linear is having a value half at node 5, alright, and n5 which we constructed here, alright, is having a value 1 at node 5. So, we will subtract half of n5 from n1 linear, alright. So, that makes n1 as 0 at node 5, alright. Similarly, in order to ensure that n1 is 0 at node 8, so what you have to do, since n1 linear is half at node 8, so we will multiply half with n8 and subtract it from n1 linear. So, half of n8 has been subtracted from n1 linear. So, these two part ensures that n1 becomes 0 in node 5 and node 8, and anyway n1 linear is 0 along these two boundaries. So, it satisfies all the required conditions, alright. So, now since these are quadratic functions in xi and eta, so n1 becomes quadratic in xi and eta. So, likewise n2 can be constructed from the linear N2 that varies like this. So, N2 linear is 1 by 4 into 1 plus xi into 1 minus eta, because it varies, it becomes 0 at xi equal to minus 1 and eta equal to 1. So, from N2 linear, which is half at node 6, okay, we are going to subtract half of N6 from N2 linear in order to make N2 0 at node 6. Similarly, since N2 linear is half at node 5, we will subtract half of N5 from N2 linear to make N2 0 in node 5 and 6. So, likewise we can go and construct N3 and N4 as well. Now, if you look at these shape functions, you will see that initially we had certain terms. We said that we had this many terms for p equal to 2. In addition, we had these 3 extra terms. Now, once you construct all the shape functions, you will see that this term will not be present in this element. So, we will be able to avoid xi square eta square term, but still the completeness condition for p equal to 2 is satisfied. Alright. So, now let us go ahead and see how to construct higher order shape functions, where we will try to avoid the internal nodes. Now, this group of element where the internal nodes are avoided or reduced are called serendipity elements. So, for p equal to 3, so p equal to 3, here I have shown the original tensor product family of shape functions, where we had 4 internal nodes and corresponding phi i's. Now, our objective is to avoid these internal nodes. So, here we have redrawn the same element, okay, where the internal nodes are avoided. Now, how we will construct this? We will follow the same strategy. We will first construct the shape functions which are lying on the sides of the quadrilateral element. So, we will construct N5, N6, N7, N8, N9, N10, N11, N12. Alright. So, we will say N5 is varying with degree p like this, the same way it varies in case of one dimensional element, and is 1 at node 5. Alright. Since these 4 points are specified, so here it is cubic in xi, and it varies linearly along eta. Alright. Now, since this N5 is a product of this cubic shape function in xi and linear function in eta, so what we can see, since it is 0 in xi equal to plus minus 1 and xi equal to 1 by 3, so along these two boundary this N5 will be automatically 0. Alright. And eta equal to 1, this term will take care that it is 0 at this edge. Alright. Now, C5 how we calculated? We said that N5 has to be 1 at node 5. So, we will put the coordinate here. In this case the coordinate is minus 1 by 3 eta equal to minus 1. So, if we put this here and we make it to equal to 1, we will calculate the coefficient C5. Similarly, to construct a N11, so how do we construct N11? The same way, we said that it is 1 at node 1 varying with degree p like this, alright, and varying linearly with xi and is equal to 0 in the boundary xi equal to 1, alright. So, if I look at the construction of N1, N11, so it is cubic varying at eta equal to plus minus 1 and at eta equal to minus, this is minus 1 by root 3 and at xi equal to 1, alright. So, similarly we can construct N6 and N12 as well. Now, once we constructed N5, N6, N12, N11, now we can construct N1. Okay. Now, how N1 looks like? We said that N1 linear, okay, which varies linearly with xi and eta. Okay. We knew N1 linear as 1 by 4, 1 minus xi, 1 minus eta, alright. Now, from that N1 linear, we are going to subtract the contribution of N5 and N6. Now, what is the value of N1 linear at node 5? The value here is basically 2/3. So, we subtracted 2/3 of N5 and 1/3 of N6 from N1 linear, okay, to ensure that N1 is 0 in node 5 and node 6. Okay. Now, N1 has also to be 0 in node 12 and node 11. To do that, again we subtracted 2/3 of N12. Why? Because at node 12 the value of N1 is 2/3, alright. Similarly, here the value of N1 linear is 1/3. So, 1/3 of N11 is subtracted from the N1 linear to construct N1. So, this is the shape function N1 for the quadrilateral element. Okay. So, this subtraction ensures that N1 is 0 in node 5, node 6, node 11 and node 12, and anyway N1 linear is 0 in these two boundaries. So, all the requirements are satisfied. Fine. Now, let us look at N3. So, how do we construct N3? Just so N3, again we will take N3 linear which varied like this, alright. So, this is N3 linear, alright. Now, N3 linear is 2/3 here and 1/3 here, similarly 2/3 here and 1/3 here. So, from N3 linear we will subtract 2/3 of N9, 2/3 of N9 and 1/3 of N10, and similarly 2/3 of N8 and 1/3 of N7. So, that will help us to construct N3. So, this way through inspection we can construct the shape functions for the serendipity elements. Now, for p equal to 3, if we look at the original element like the tensor product family of shape functions. So, there we told that we had all the cubic terms up to p equal to 3, and in addition we had 6 more terms, alright. So, above the completeness requirement we had 6 more terms in the original, that is that the element that we derived from the tensor product family of shape functions. Now, in serendipity element for p equal to 3, we will see that these in addition in out of these 16 monomials, these 4 monomials can be avoided. So, let me use a different. So, these 4 monomials can be avoided in case of serendipity element for p equal to 3, Actually this is because we avoided these 4 internal nodes. Alright. Now this way if we continue, we will see that for p equal to 4 we cannot totally avoid the internal node. So let us have a look for p equal to 4. So here I have shown the element that has been obtained from the tensor product family of shape functions, where p plus 1 whole square, that is p for p equal to 4, we have 25 shape functions non-zero in this current element, out of which 9 shape functions corresponding to this element only. So these elements, these phi i's are non-zero only in this element. Alright. So now if we try to avoid this 9, we will see that we will fail to satisfy the completeness requirement. So in that case we had to add one internal node at least, okay, that is has been added at the mid of the element. Now so for p equal to 4 we had this many terms as required by the completeness condition. In addition to that we had 10 more terms, alright, corresponding to for p equal to 4. Right. Now if we try to avoid these 9 internal nodes or 9 shape functions corresponding to the internal nodes, we will see that we will miss out all these terms, and since this term is required for the completeness requirement, alright, so we cannot avoid the internal nodes totally, and instead we have to consider at least one internal node that has been put at the middle of the element. So finally we had avoided this many monomials, alright. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 internal nodes were avoided. So correspondingly 8 monomials can be avoided for serendipity element for p equal to 4. Now if I look at the construction in this case, there is a slight change in this case. First we have to define n17, that is at the mid of the element, and this is very easy to construct because n17 is 1 here and is 0 in all the boundaries. So at xi equal to plus minus 1, eta equal to plus minus 1, it has to vanish and has to be 1 at node 17. So that is very easy to construct just by taking product of 1 minus I square and 1 minus eta square. Now once we have constructed n17, now let us go ahead and construct the shape functions which belong to the sides of the quadrilateral element, like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16, right. So let me give an example how to construct n5. n5 has been constructed the way we constructed it for p equal to 2 and p equal to 3. We said that it varies with degree 4 in this case, alright. It is 1 at node 5 and varies with degree 4, alright, along xi, and it varies linearly in eta, alright. So that is how this has been constructed. It is a polynomial of degree 4 in xi and linear in eta, alright. Now look at this n5. n5 is, since n5 is 0 in node 6, okay, which basically corresponds to xi equal to 0. So it is automatically 0 in node 17, alright. We do not have to enforce n5 as 0 in node 17 because it is automatically 0 at xi equal to 0. But if we look at n6, if we look at n6, n6 is 1 at node 6 and it varies with degree 4 like this, and it is 1 here right, and it is linearly varying with eta like this. But as you can see, N6 is not 0 in node 17. Okay. So, it is violating the Kronecker delta property. So, in order to ensure that, we have to subtract some amount of N17 from N6. So, how do we do that? First, we define N6 as the polynomial degree 4 in xi, alright, and linear function in eta. This is very easy to see because it has to vanish in xi equal to plus minus 1, it has to vanish in xi equal to plus minus half, and it has to vanish at eta equal to 1, alright. So, that constructs N6, but since this varies linearly, so this is 1 here and 0 at node 12. So, this is having a value of half at node 17. So, we are subtracting half of N17 from N6, alright. So, that is how we constructed the shape function correspond to node 6. Similarly, we can construct 7 also, okay, but in case of N7 we do not have to subtract anything because N7 is anyway 0 in node 17. So, likewise we will construct all the shape functions corresponding to the sides of the element. Finally, we will construct the shape functions corresponding to the corner of the element. Let us discuss about N1. N1, we said that we started with the linear shape function N1 linear. So, this is N1 linear, okay. Then what we do? We subtract. So, N1 linear, if I draw, so N1 linear is 1 here, okay, and varies linearly with xi and eta. And what is the value at node 5? N1 linear, what is the value at node 5? This is basically 3 by 4. So, the value is here as 3 by 4. The value of N1 linear at node 6 is half, and the value of N1 linear at 7 is 1 by 4. So, we are subtracting 3/4 of N5, half of N6, half of N6 and 1/4 of N7. Similarly, in eta direction we have to make it 0 in node 16, node 15 and node 14. So, we will proportionally subtract N16, N15 and N14, alright, but that is not all, because N1, since it varies linearly, it is 0 only along these borders I equal to 1 and eta equal to 1. So, it is non-zero in node 17, alright, and all other shape functions are 0 in node 17, that has been ensured. So, the value of N1 linear at the midpoint of the element is how much? That is basically 1 by 4. So, 1/4 of N17 has to be subtracted from N1 linear to get N1 hat, alright. So, you can understand why we started with N17 and then we went to the shape functions corresponding to the sides of the quadrilateral element, and finally we calculated the shape functions at the node points, corner nodes, alright. So, following this way we can go ahead and construct all the phi i's for p equal to 4. So, it can be understood that p greater than equal to 4, all the serendipity elements will have internal nodes. Now, in another way we can construct these shape functions. We can say that the linear shape functions in xi, we can write it as 1 minus xi by 2 and 1 plus xi by 2. So, these are the two shape functions that we have seen in the master element, varying xi varying from minus 1 to plus 1, alright. And if we construct the same linear shape functions in eta varying from minus 1 to plus 1, those two shape functions are also looks like this. So, what I have done basically, this is the 1D shape function in xi, these are the 1D shape functions in eta corresponding to p equal to 1. Then we will take the tensor product. So, I will say this column vector times the transpose of this column vector. So, that will give us the shape functions corresponding to p equal to 1 for this quadrilateral element. So, let us do it. So, first row will be this times this and this times this, alright. So, that makes it 1 by 4 1 minus xi times 1 minus eta. Similarly, the second one will be 1 by 4 1 minus xi times 1 plus eta, and this will be 1 by 4 into 1 minus, sorry, this will be plus 1 plus xi into 1 minus eta, this into this, alright, and the last one will be 1 plus xi into 1 plus eta, alright. So, now let us look at these 4 shape functions. So, this is basically n1, alright, in our view this is n1, this 1 plus xi into 1 minus eta. So, that is basically our n2, alright, this one. Similarly, this if we look at, this is our n3 and this one is n4, alright. So, since we can obtain these shape functions from the tensor product of the corresponding shape functions in 1D, these shape functions are called tensor product family of shape functions, alright. So, now we can take the derivatives and following the earlier steps we can calculate the stiffness entries and the force entries.